Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boom Bust channel. I'm your host Terry, and today you are in for a treat. If you're listening, you are a true diehard Bears fan because the season is over and not a lot to talk about with this game. So actually, we're going to pull a little bait and switch because, as I said many times before, we don't do this for money or anything, so we can do things like that. I don't got to promote it. We're going to talk about some fun topics today. We're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about Caleb Williams, of course. We're going to talk about should Bagent be the starter the rest of the season? Was drafting Rome Odunze a mistake? And do we need to get an offensive coach? Those are the topics we're going to touch on. Before we get started, it's late, I know. And well, the Bears playing Monday night, but I also was getting together some Christmas treats for the office party tomorrow, so I'm a little tired. And shout out to Marvel Rivals, man. I downloaded that. I'm so late to the party, but I didn't even get to play tonight. But I'm definitely gonna play before I go to bed. But I'm addicted to that game, and it's about to be winter break, so I'm gonna be on that. And then the other thing that I just want to say, y'all pray for me because I think tonight I decided I really want to get like a classic NFL player jersey collection to wear sometimes, but definitely to just have. And so number one on my list is going to be Brian Urlacher. I know what that'll cost. I've been looking at that forever. Urlacher's a huge influence on me as a player, not as a person, and all that. His time with the Bears. I want to get a Ricky Williams Dolphins jersey, but my number two is probably Randy Moss Vikings with everything that's going on, and then Ricky Williams. So those are my top three, but then there's so many I want to get. I don't have that type of money, but if I did, I would love to just have all types of NFL player jerseys. Back in the day, I used to have a Dante Hall X Factor jersey from the Chiefs. I don't know what happened to that. Got it at, what was it, Value City back then? I think it was. Man, got that for the cheap. It was a white one, though. I don't like white jerseys. But anyway, so I think that's going to be my mission. Probably one every 2 years, so unless I get some big money, but I just want to throw that out there so y'all know. Anyway, all right, so let's get into it. Caleb Williams, look, for the new people, returning people, I've been pretty consistent on this. Look, I missed on my projections for Caleb Williams. Not only Caleb as a quarterback individually, but as our offense and what Shane Waldron was going to bring to it. Once again, as I mentioned in prior videos, I just thought the Seattle blueprint, which at this point, and this is why I always say that we don't know what's going on in the building. We don't know who make decisions. At this point, it's very clear the Seattle blueprint was very influenced by Pete Carroll, and that wasn't necessarily what Waldron was about. What we remember with Beast Mode and all those years where they, a lot of double tight end, a lot of zone, a lot of play action, Russell Wilson, all that was not Waldron. And if you look at the 3 years that Waldron was there, the numbers morphed very drastically. And I'm not talking about production, I'm talking about tendency of run versus pass, play action, early down run success, all those things. And so that was a big issue. Not only not matching what Caleb needed, but also not matching what our personnel has given. And I talked about our passing game. You can check that out in my videos. So I missed on all of that. And Caleb overall just did not come in as ready as I thought he might be. And I really bought into the hype, bro. Like I did. Like I don't watch college football. And so the talk of the NIL and he's already got a team and he's made money and he's mature and he's focused. Yeah. I mean, yeah, all that matters, but there's other things that's more important. And even if he had his head on the right direction, which I don't know, it doesn't matter when it comes to getting on the field, because then you get to see how you measure up. And right now he just has a lot of old tendencies that he has to break. That for me, I thought he was more of a student of the game, and that he understood that he couldn't play the way he did it at USC, but that has not been the case. So we'll so that's kind of where we are. Talking about Bagent and everything. So number one, I was super impressed by what Bagent did last year. Despite some of the negative commentary about him, which was kind of weird for a rookie. I don't even know what round he was drafted, but a rookie, very small town, quarterback, to do what he did to fill in for Justin Fields was incredible, especially in an offense that everybody said was so first of all, people call Getsy terrible, and that's fine. I'm not going to debate that. But they changed the offense to a Lamar offense for Justin Fields. Justin Fields is hurt, and so now they got to, do you revert back? You can't run that same offense. Do you revert back? Do you do something new? And I thought Bagent handled it very well. I mean, again, you could go back and check the videos. From what I saw, I just thought he had all the tools that in a structured system he could get you through. And so I called him a top 5, top 10 backup quarterback. Probably was top 5. And I still stand on that. And then we saw in the preseason, we saw in Hard Knocks, that's who he is. So some people talking about Caleb's confidence, a la Bryce Young. Some people talking about injury risk, all that. Should we put Bagent in? And for me, the answer is yes. We should put Bagent in, but I'm taking it a halfway approach. And this is unorthodox, But look, I mean, just to give you some context, when the Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts, and I believe they still had Carson Wentz and all that, Jalen needed a lot of development. He needed some confidence as well. And I said, like, at least what we were seeing in the college game, I thought we were trending towards not a 2 quarterback system, but a red zone quarterback system. And I completely missed on that so far. I might have been too early. We'll see what happens, but I completely missed on that, where I thought you had a lot of spread quarterbacks with ability that might not be ready to be quarterbacks in the NFL, but they could contribute in some other way. And so Jalen Hurts, I thought would do that. I thought Justin Fields early on in his career, and then even coming in with Caleb, I thought he might be able to do that too. All these different things. So I just thought, thinking outside of the box was going to become more normal, but that hasn't really happened in college, and it hasn't happened in the NFL. So I might be wrong on that. I might be too early. We'll see. But I say all that to say, I do think you should play both. And I think Caleb should still start the first half, and I think Bagent should play the second half. And I've said before, I think you get a boost if every NFL rookie or rookie quarterback gets 4 games at least on the bench. And I've talked so much again. I mentioned my line brother fraternity. He's in the NFL. He's doing his thing, and that gave me a lot of perspective. But just as you do these things more and more, which again, I say all the time, it's not that I'm better than you or know more and all that. It's just I've had more experience. And I agree with Mel Kiper and many others that have said this. The people who do draft, the benefit you have are all the mistakes, and you learn from those, and that's where I feel as well. So I've learned from a lot of things that I had wrong, and I realized that, especially as I grow up, like, it's just like any other job. Like being put in a new city the same night that you find out, figuring out family, figuring out travel, figuring out where you're going to live, moving your stuff, figuring out the facility. All these things are huge. And so it'd be huge for any one of us. And so I feel like if you have the opportunity to get your bearings, not only personally, but on the football side, you get to watch an NFL week of preparation. You get to watch how a veteran quarterback prepares. You get to look at the scouting reports. You get to watch 4 weeks of film of the coach going over, here's what you missed, here's this coverage, that, and you just get more time on task. I feel like that benefits everybody. So you get a little bit of the best of the both worlds, where Caleb still maintains his status and no ego is hurt. He goes out there, he gets reps, he sees some defenses, he plays, but then he gets to preserve his health, watch Bagent play, feel that urgency of a competitor. He wants to be out there, but then see what Bagent sees what he might not be seeing how the defense plays Bagent differently. You got nothing to lose. More than likely, you're a top 10 pick. I don't see why. Again, preserving health, you get that benefit, but you also get the learning benefit and the time on task. So that would be my answer to that. All right, Odunze, is he a mistake? And I didn't pull up the numbers or anything. As a draft person, Odunze was a very high rated prospect for me. But look, you might have said, some of you that are followers of the channel, you might say like, oh, you've been talking about the receivers and they're not explosive. I've said for the whole draft season that Malik Neighbors has, his special thing is that he has a different level of explosion, similar to a Tyreek Hill. A little taller, a little stronger, but he's built similarly. And Odunze doesn't have that. Can Odunze run routes? Yes. Can he go contest a catch? Yes. Can he block? Yes. But is he a speedster, burner, or explosive guy? No, he's not. So I don't think that's a knock against him. You put him with a group where nobody else has speed. Yes, it's an issue for us because we can't block. But does that mean Odunze is the issue? No. So I think Joe Alt is the person everybody goes to. And I'm getting ready to get into draft mode. So for those that are veterans, you know how I feel. The thing is, you got to have two to tango. So to say we should have, got Joe Alt, the Chargers, I mean, look, they might have had him and Latham close together. I don't know. But even if they did, or if Joe Alt was their favorite, what makes you think that we would be able to convince them to give up Joe Alt to get something else? And so it's not as simple as, yes, we want Joe Alt, we're going to get him. Because I guarantee you, yes, there's a number that makes sense, but it might not make sense to all the fans. So depending on what we gave up, people will be crucifying Ryan Poles, even if Joe Alt was good. But schematically, if we're talking about, because that's probably number one, because the pass rushers weren't great. So the tackles, I mean, Joe Alt, yes, he's playing great. He's as good as advertised. Latham, I think he's playing pretty good. He's about what I expected. And then from there, Olu played a little bit with the Jets, on and off with their injuries. Again, kind of a growth in progress. So if we would have went that route, Darnell Wright, top 10 pick, he would have been starting at right tackle. So we either have Joe Alt, Olu, or who did I just say? Latham, potentially Fuaga, one of those people. A lot of power in that draft class. We have more power than we have with Braxton. The issue would be speed. Latham is very athletic and can handle it, but look, speed kills when you're young and you don't know the angles. So Fuaga, Latham, issues. Joe Alt, very long, arms, very big frame. I think he'd be just as good right now left tackle as he would be at right tackle. I'm not denying that. Joe Alt would be a slam dunk, and I said that during the off season. But at the same time, can you get him from the Chargers? What would you have to give up? I don't know, and so that becomes a question mark. Ultimately, I can't say that Odunze was a mistake because Keenan Allen is a short-term thing, whether by performance or age. And then DJ Moore, we did end up paying him, but at the time, we had not paid him. And so Odunze and Caleb had a pretty solid connection. And I do think, for me, he was at the top of my list as far as receiver prospects. So I can't say that was a mistake because, yeah, right now we're living in a world where he kind of plays third fiddle. But I do think there's a world where, next year, I still think there's a world where next year he's the number one guy. And so how often can you do that? Now, I have to admit, everybody has blind spots, so to speak, when we're talking about the draft. And I've said this before, but gauging speed has been an issue for me. And so even though Neighbors, I know he's explosive, but sometimes it takes seeing them against NFL competition to realize how much of a difference it is, and especially these days, they morph a lot with their training. And so all that to say, Odunze was not standing off the tape explosively at Washington, and still I don't think he's standing off the tape. But does he have all those other factors? Yes, he does. And so I'm not saying it's a Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill. That is a rare breed, but I do think he's a true number one. And at the end of the day, whatever outs you got with DJ Moore, obviously Keenan Allen, you got an out. I do think bringing in a big time receiver does mean something. Now, I will add this. You look at Josh Allen, not different than Patrick Mahomes and others. Once you remove the hierarchy, I say all the time, people blame people in hierarchy based on position, narratives, all that. Once you remove the hierarchy, it does open up room for growth. It's scary because you might fail, but it opens up room for growth. So with Josh Allen, you lose Stephon Diggs. A lot of people say great talent, and I'm not denying that. But people got to realize these are just like any office. And some of y'all might not work in offices, but it's just like any office department, anything you work in. You had the people in charge, but if you got somebody that's a veteran, that's been here or got cachet, and they're talking negatively, it impacts everybody. And so if you got a Stephon Diggs that's pissed off and whatever, on the field he might not impact you, but off the field he might impact you. So once he's gone and you got a room where everybody's okay doing their job, that goes a long way. So I just got to give that kind of preference, whether it's DJ Moore or Keenan Allen, and feeling like you got to get the ball to them. Whereas there's an upside to having a young rookie receiver that might not have that ego, dependent. Because I do think Neighbors does. I do think Marvin Harrison does, but I don't think Rome Odunze does. And so I can't overall say it's a mistake, only because Joe Alt wasn't a slam dunk. And Latham would have been interesting, but I don't think that's a slam dunk either. So that's where I'm going to go with that. All right, moving to our last topic. And I'm not going to be super long on this, as I want to be. But I've talked about before this idea of an offensive coach. And again, check out the QB development. Check out a number of things that I talked about. But at the end of the day, what it all boils down to is the salary cap. You have a salary cap and you have a restriction on how much you can pay people and build the roster. And quarterbacks, because of the nature of the position, command a lot of money. Because the money has gotten to a point where it's prohibitive, it stops you from getting other people. You have a lot of teams looking at San Fran and saying, we have to find a young quarterback that can give us enough to win so that we can build a good roster around them while they're on a rookie contract and try to win as much as we can. That's the philosophy. And because of that, we have so many teams that have turned, not just because the copycat league, but because of the finances, they've said we have to get quarterback coaches. So quarterback coaches become passing coordinators, they become offensive coordinators, they become head coaches faster than they should. And to be honest, not everybody's a quarterback coach. Not everybody's even responsible for whatever their accolades are. But as we've seen, if you know Sean McVay, if you walk past them, if you spent the day with them, you're going to get a consideration. If there's a quarterback, Baker Mayfield, oh my God, look what happened with Baker. Anybody that was near Baker, anybody that was near Geno, that's how the Bears got caught. Shane Waldron. Not only him, but I believe Canales from, I might be thinking that he might be Baker. But anyway, any quarterback that's done something, anyone that's near it is getting all this consideration. Ben Johnson with the Lions. And it's a direct result of the finances going on in the NFL. So I recognize that. Other people have recognized that for a while, that you have teams and owners who are glorified fans and don't know what they're talking about, reading Twitter, reading, articles, watching ESPN, and they're saying we got to get a young hot shot QB guru, which guru, I don't know, but either way, which is ridiculous overall. But that is the trend now, because we can't, a QB coach that did something is not going to settle for being a QB coach. A passing game coordinator is not going to settle for that. OC is not going to settle for that. So we're going to give him the head coach. Even though we know nothing about them as a head coach, we probably don't think they could be a head coach, but we're going to give it to him to work with our quarterback. And that's the world we live in. So with all that being recognized, do we have to get an offensive head coach? No, we don't. That doesn't mean that I'm in favor of it. That doesn't mean that I would dismiss anything that's not. But at the same time, I don't think it's a much of a must need as some people think. This has been going on for a little bit. Nagy came in off that same reputation. There's a long list of these guys that don't work out that I'm not going to go through. We've had this conversation before, but do we have to get a young quarterback? And as I said in the community, which might be up or deleted, Caleb does need confidence. And again, I don't know him. I ain't never met him. I ain't never talked to him. I ain't talked to the Bears. But he strikes me as somebody that has coached players, as somebody that works with college students and all that. He strikes me as a person that really needs reassurance. And he can be very hot and cold depending on how it's going. If it's going, he's hot, he's revved up. If it's not going, he's very shut off. And so he's going to need what every rookie needs, every rookie quarterback. He's going to need that confidence booster. And so will it help to have a head coach that's also kind of his personal guy? Yes, I do think it would help. Do I think it's necessary? I wouldn't go that far, just because, the head coaching job is so much bigger than that. No matter what people want to acknowledge or not, and it's so silly, because people are going to flame a coach no matter what. And if you are like a Sirianni, offensive guy, quarterback guy, but he's not calling the plays, and so he's useless. Oh, but if he's making decisions on game situations, so he's the worst. He's the reason we lost, even though he's useless when things are going well. He's the reason we lost when it's going bad. Dan Campbell just got the right personality. Everything he does is golden. No questions about what he does. Even Deion Sanders kind of in that same spot with Colorado. But overall, again, it's not really a function of anything except what people think of you already and trying to have confirmation bias. That's all it really is. So I don't believe that it's a major letdown, disappointment, or negligence if we go one way or the other. It's just, it really depends on people's preconceived notions and how they want to go about confirmation bias. But in a pure football sense, looking at what we've had over time, I kind of, I'm asking myself in the moment, I'm real time reacting. I do believe it falls back to what I said last year with Mike Vrabel. I want that because I want somebody that has a vision for the team to execute it, much like any office or department people work in, the manager, the supervisor. they have the vision and it's up to them to execute it. I want somebody that wants to be tough. I want somebody that wants to beat you up on the O-line, the D-line, and win in the trenches. I want somebody that's going to be aggressive and confident. And it probably sounds like Dan Campbell to some of y'all, and maybe it is, but I think Vrabel's that guy. I think there's an identity there. But at the end of the day, it's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. As long as everybody understands the vision, the goal, the mission, I think we'll be okay. So that's it for me. Go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down.